The storm rolled in fast. One minute, the sky was painted in soft lavender twilight. The next, it was bleeding black. Thunder cracked like gunfire over the Appalachian pines, and the rain hit the windshield in fat, angry drops. Wipers screeched across the glass as I clutched the steering wheel tighter, knuckles white. My breath fogged the inside of the car. I shouldn't have been out here. Not alone. Not tonight. But there was no one waiting for me anymore. No home. No fiancé. No job. They all crumbled in a matter of days. The betrayal, the lies, the pitying looks at work. I'd driven without direction for states before the mountains called to me. Quiet, cold, isolated. Just what I needed. I was running. I knew it. I just didn't care. The storm worsened as I climbed higher into the forest. Lightning lit up the road like a camera flash, revealing a narrow turn I barely caught in time. I swore under my breath, heart pounding, and eased off the gas. My fingers were trembling, not just from the weather, from the memory. I'd caught them together in our bed. Claire, my best friend, and Evan, my fiancé. Two people I'd trusted most. I still couldn't erase the way they looked at me, like I was the intruder. I blinked hard, pushing the thought away as the road ahead vanished into a fog-drenched blur. Suddenly, something darted into the road. I slammed on the brakes. The tires screeched. The car fishtailed. My heart lurched into my throat. The shape, large, dark, fast, flashed through the headlights before I skidded to a stop. The car shuddered violently, engine stuttering. I froze, pulse thundering. What the hell was that? I leaned forward, squinting. Through the rain, the shadows shifted. Something was out there. Then I saw it, movement off the road. Something limping, dragging itself toward the trees. It was a wolf, a massive one. No, bigger than any wolf I'd ever seen. Its fur was soaked and dark, glistening red in places. Blood? Its head dipped low, and even from this distance, I felt its pain like a punch to the chest. I don't know what came over me. Instinct, maybe, or some invisible thread yanking me out of the car and into the rain. Hey, wait. I stumbled toward it, arms wrapped around myself. Wind howled. The wolf turned its head slightly, eyes glowing pale silver, intelligent, piercing, human. I stopped cold. What was I looking at? The wolf swayed on its feet, then collapsed hard onto the forest floor. My boots splashed through the mud as I reached it, crouching just out of reach. My breath hitched as I took in the gash across its flank. It was deep, bleeding freely, like it had been attacked by something much bigger or sharper. Jesus, I whispered. Are you going to die out here? The wolf's ears twitched. Its eyes met mine again. This close. I could see the agony behind them, but also something else. Like it recognized me. My stomach twisted. I don't know what I'm doing, I murmured, inching closer. But I'm not leaving you here. The wolf didn't growl, didn't move. I reached out slowly. My fingers brushed its damp fur. It trembled but didn't pull away. There was a connection. Something deep, immediate, bone deep and terrifying. What the hell is happening? A flash of lightning tore across the sky. The wolf flinched. I grabbed my coat and covered its shivering form as best I could, adrenaline making me bold. Come on, I said. I've got a cabin a few miles back. You're not dying on me, big guy. The wolf groaned low in its throat. Then it nodded. I blinked. Was I losing it? Was I hallucinating? Still, it dragged itself upright with a struggling push. I moved beside it, letting it lean against me. The smell of pine and blood and something smoky clung to its fur. The drive to the cabin was silent. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting it to vanish. But the wolf lay curled in the back seat, eyes open, watching me. My heart wouldn't calm. Not because I was scared, because I felt tethered to him. Like this was no ordinary wolf, no ordinary night, and my life shattered and aimless had just taken a turn I could never come back from. The cabin wasn't much, just one bedroom, a half-working fireplace, and a kitchen stuck in the 70s. But it was mine for the week. And more importantly, it was dry. I wrestled the wolf's massive form inside, grunting under the weight. He was too heavy to carry, too stubborn to stay down. I dropped my soaked coat by the door and grabbed the thickest towel I could find. You're lucky I don't scare easy, I muttered, kneeling beside him on the living room rug. Because you are one terrifying beast. The wolf didn't flinch, but his breathing was labored. Each rise and fall of his chest shuddered with effort. Blood still oozed from the deep slash down his side. I wrapped a towel around the worst of it, hands shaking as I applied pressure. His eyes met mine again. Silver. Two silver. It was like he was looking through me. I don't know what you are, I whispered. But you're not just a wolf. You're something else, aren't you? Thunder rumbled outside, low and constant like the growl of something ancient. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. I froze. The room plunged into darkness, broken only by the dim orange glow of the dying fireplace. I reached for the flashlight on the counter, flicked it on, and turned back toward the wolf, but he was gone. What the? My heart skipped. I stood slowly, swinging the beam of light across the cabin. Hello? I called, pulse hammering. Then I heard it wood creaking in the bedroom. I tightened my grip on the flashlight, inching toward the door. The knob was cold beneath my fingers. I turned it. The door swung open, and there he was. Not the wolf, a man, naked, bleeding, leaning heavily against the dresser, chest rising and falling in harsh, shallow breaths. His dark hair was slicked to his brow, and his eyes, those same unnatural silver eyes, locked onto mine. My blood turned to ice. What the hell? He tried to speak, but his legs gave out. I rushed forward on instinct, catching him. Before he collapsed, he was burning up, muscles taut beneath my hands. I could feel the tremble of pain radiating off him. Don't be afraid, he rasped. Too late, I breathed. You were a wolf. His jaw clenched. I still am. My throat tightened. I helped him to the bed, trying not to stare at anything I shouldn't. The moment he hit the mattress, his whole body sagged, like he'd been holding himself together by sheer force of will. You're hurt, I said, grabbing the first aid kit from the bathroom. That gash, it looked fatal. It was, he muttered. For anyone else. I froze. That's not an answer. He looked at me then, really looked, and something in his expression softened. Regret? Pain? Recognition? You don't remember me, do you? He said quietly. My heart stuttered. Should I? No, he whispered, but I remember you. I blinked, the room tilting slightly. Okay, that's enough cryptic crap. You show up in the middle of the road as a wolf, bleeding to death, turn into a man, and now you're telling me we've met before? His eyes fluttered shut. It's complicated. I stared at him. Tall, broad shoulders, that wounded, guarded expression. The way he said remember you, like it meant something. Like I was more than just the woman who almost hit him with a car. What's your name? I asked. He was silent for a beat too long. Killian. The name sent a shiver down my spine. It sounded familiar, like a word whispered in a dream long forgotten. Well, Killian, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You're lucky I didn't leave you out there to freeze. His lips curved, just barely. I knew you wouldn't. My chest tightened. Sleep, I muttered. You're still bleeding. We'll deal with the insanity tomorrow. But as I turned to go, he caught my wrist. Thank you, he said, voice low, reverent, and there it was again. That pull, that strange magnetic force between us I couldn't explain. Something old, something faded. I left him in the dark, heart racing, questions spinning through my head like a storm. Who was he? What the hell had I brought into my life? And why, when I should have run the moment he turned into something impossible, did part of me already feel like I couldn't let him go? I didn't sleep. How could I? Fear was a man, no. A shifter passed out in my bed, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw that silver gaze piercing through me like moonlight through fog. I ended up on the couch with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders and a cold cup of tea growing colder in my hands. The storm had passed, leaving the mountains outside wrapped in silence and morning mist. It should have been peaceful. Instead, I felt like something had shifted in the air, something ancient and wild and dangerous, and it was lying 20 feet down the hall. I kept going over last night again and again. The wolf, the crash, his eyes, the way he looked at me, like he knew my face, like he'd been waiting for me. But how? We'd never met. I would have remembered someone like that, someone who could change forms, bleed out on the floor, then walk like nothing had happened. I heard movement from the bedroom, a creak of floorboards, the sound of footsteps, slow and heavy. I rose stiffly from the couch and grabbed the fire poker, just in case. Then Killian appeared, shirtless, still blood-stained, but upright, barefoot, limping slightly, but walking like he hadn't just been impaled by a bear or whatever it was that tore into him last night. His eyes found me immediately. You didn't sleep, he said. Not a question. And you're already on your feet. I shot back. So I guess the whole bleeding out in wolf form thing wasn't as bad as it looked. He tilted his head, like he was studying me. I heal fast, apparently. He stepped farther into the room. Light from the windows caught on his bare chest. Scars, old ones, claw marks across his ribs, a long, pale line on his collarbone. I had a sudden, uncomfortable thought he wasn't new to violence. I placed the poker down slowly but didn't move from behind the couch. Look, I said, I don't know what you are. I don't even know if I want to know. But I think I deserve some kind of explanation. His jaw tightened. I watched his shoulders tense as if he were preparing to tell me something that hurt. But when he spoke, his voice was careful. I'm not here to hurt you, Rain. I blinked. How do you know my name? His eyes didn't waver. I've known it for a long time. My heart pounded harder. That's not creepy at all. I mean it, he said, voice softer now. You don't remember me, but I remember you. From before. Before what? I asked. You're speaking in riddles like some half-baked cryptid. That drew the smallest smile from him. You always did have a temper. My skin prickled. He wasn't just being vague. He meant it, like he'd met me before, long ago. And yet I had no memory of him. No image to pair with that. Voice or face. I folded my arms. Listen, I don't know if you're part of some cult or fairy tale or if I've stumbled into a werewolf twilight zone, but I've had a long week. I lost everything. I almost killed you on a foggy road, and now you're bleeding on my sheets. So, if you could stop talking like I'm supposed to know what any of this means, that would be great. He took a slow breath. I can't tell you everything yet. Not until it's safe. Safe from what? His eyes darkened. The ones who hurt me. They'll come for you next if they know you helped me. That stopped me cold. I searched his face for any sign of a lie, but there was none. Just a haunted, exhausted certainty. You think they're looking for you? I asked. Like, hunting you? They're always hunting, he said. They never stop. I swallowed hard. Okay, and you? You think I'm in danger because I didn't leave you in a ditch? His voice lowered. Because you're more than just the woman who saved me. Goosebumps rose on my arms. I wanted to ask more, but something in me hesitated. There was a tightness in his voice, like each word cost him. Like he was protecting not just me, but something much bigger. Instead, I gestured to the kitchen. Hungry? I can burn toast with the best of them. He blinked. Then, miraculously, let out a quiet laugh. I'll take that as a yes, I muttered. I made toast. He watched me with a careful, too still expression from the armchair, like a wolf might observe from the tree line. And he didn't touch the food, just sat there, drinking black coffee and silently taking in everything: the furniture, the window locks, the trees outside. He was assessing, watching, guarding. What happened to your wound? I asked eventually. He looked down, lifted the edge of the gauze. The gash that had stretched nearly across his side was almost gone pink, healing, but no longer bleeding. Like I said, he murmured, I heal fast. No kidding. I put my mug down and leaned forward on my elbows. I'm not crazy, right? You were a wolf. Then you weren't. You changed. He nodded. I let out a breath. Okay. Then what are you? He hesitated only a moment. I'm a shifter. It was a simple word, but it cracked something open inside me. Not just fear. Recognition. I've heard that before, I said softly. He looked at me. Where? I don't know. I stood slowly, restless. Dreams. A nightmare maybe? Someone my grandmother, she used to tell stories about people who walked like men and ran like wolves. I thought she was just old and lonely. He stood too. Not too close, but enough that I felt the heat of him in the room. She wasn't wrong, he said. Those stories, they came from somewhere. I looked up at him. So what now? Do I just go back to pretending this is normal? No, he said. Nothing will be normal now. His voice was heavy, full of sadness and warning, and then he added, You've always been part of this world, Rain. You just didn't know it. Those words made my stomach drop. What do you mean? Before he could answer, a noise outside caught both our attention: a low crunch of gravel, movement in the trees. Killian was instantly alert. His body tensed. I saw a flicker of something unnatural pass over his features. His pupils dilated. His breathing slowed. Predator calm. We need to go, he said. What? Why? They found me. Adrenaline spiked in my chest. I moved toward the window and saw it: two figures in dark clothes, moving silently through the woods like shadows. They didn't look like park rangers or hikers. They moved like they belonged out there. Killian was already grabbing a coat, moving with the kind of controlled panic of someone who'd lived this chase before. "Come on," he said, voice tight. "You're with me now." I should have questioned it. I should have refused, but I didn't. I grabbed my keys, my jacket, and followed him into the trees, and in that moment, some part of me knew this wasn't just about a man turning into a wolf. This was about me too. Something in my blood had already changed. We ran, through brambles and fog, over wet leaves and moss-slick stones. We ran until my legs burned, until my breath came in sharp, shallow gasps and I couldn't feel my fingers from the cold. Killian never looked back once. He moved ahead of me like a shadow, silent, fast, completely at ease in the wild. There were moments I almost lost him in the trees, moments I wanted to scream at him to slow down, to tell me what the hell was going on. But I didn't, because something in the way he moved made it clear we were being hunted, and the people chasing us didn't care who got hurt along the way. It wasn't until we reached a half-collapsed wooden structure hidden deep in the trees that he stopped. He crouched low beside a stump, scanning the forest with eyes that looked far more animal than human. "This place is off the grid," he murmured. "No scent trails, no pack border. They won't find us here tonight." I collapsed onto a rock, chest heaving. You could have warned me that your idea of "let's go" meant running a damn marathon through a forest." He turned toward me slowly. "Would you have come?" I opened my mouth then shut it. "Fair question." He stepped into the old hunting cabin, brushing aside vines that had crept through the doorway. It was small and clearly abandoned, but dry inside. A cast iron stove sat rusted in the corner, and there was even a stack of musty firewood tucked near the hearth. Killian moved with purpose, lighting a fire with a lighter pulled from his pocket. Soon, flickering warmth spread across the walls. He shrugged out of the torn jacket I'd given him back at the other cabin and turned to face me. His torso was still bare, scarred, strong, but now I could see the tension in his shoulders, the weight he carried. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't want to drag you into this, but you did." "Yes." We stood in silence for a long moment, firelight casting golden lines across the space between us. My body was exhausted, my heart still racing, but my mind, it was chasing him. "You said they were coming for you. Why would they come for me?" "Because you're with me now." "That's not an answer." "No," he said, voice rough, "but it's the only one I can give you right now." I moved to the fire, warming my hands. "You said before that I'd always been part of this world." "What did you mean?" He hesitated. I could feel him hesitating. "You don't remember your dreams, do you?" he asked. My breath caught. "What?" "Dreams of running under the moon, of shadows in the woods, of voices calling your name from a place you've never seen." I stared at him. "I've had those since I was a kid," I whispered. "I always thought they were nightmares or hallucinations." "They weren't." He stepped closer. Not too close, but enough that I could feel the weight of his presence again, his heat, his strength, that storm of secrets inside him. "Your blood remembers," he said. "Even if your mind doesn't." "My blood?" "You come from one of the old lines. That's why they'll come for you too. You're more than just a woman who rescued a wounded wolf. You're marked by the moon." I sank onto a low bench beside the hearth, heart slamming in my chest. "This is insane." "It's real." I looked up at him. "How do you know all this about me?" His eyes softened just barely. "Because I've been watching over you for years, from a distance." "Ever since?" He stopped himself. "Since what?" He looked away. "There are things I'm not allowed to say." "Not yet. The more you remember on your own, the safer you'll be." I shook my head slowly. "That doesn't make any sense." "I know," he murmured, "but the truth, it's like a wound. It has to be opened carefully, or it'll bleed out too fast." He turned away then and crouched near the fire, stoking the flames. The way his back curved, the way his jaw clenched, I saw it now. He wasn't just hiding something, he was hurting. I hadn't noticed before, not fully, but now that the adrenaline had faded and the chase was over, I could see the grief behind his movements. Like every moment he stayed still, it caught up to him all over again. "You've lost people," I said quietly. He didn't answer, but I saw the flicker of pain in his posture. "Someone close?" He nodded once. I wrapped my arms around my knees, unsure why I cared. Maybe because something in his grief felt familiar. "I lost someone too," I whispered. "Not to death, but it felt like it." He looked at me, waiting. "My fiancé," I said. He cheated with my best friend. I found out a week before the wedding. Came home early and I trailed off. Everything shattered. My life, my trust, my belief in people, and I ran. Killian's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes deepened. I'm sorry, he said. And for once, the words didn't feel hollow. They felt earned. Yeah, I muttered. Me too. We sat in silence again, but it wasn't empty this time. It was the kind of quiet where two people weren't just surviving together, they were existing together, side by side in the wreckage of their own separate storms. Eventually, I said, Are you always alone? He glanced at me. I have a pack, or had one. What happened? They betrayed me, he said simply. Or maybe I betrayed them. Depends who you ask. I tilted my head. What did you do? I fell in love with the wrong person. Those words hit like a pulse beneath my ribs. You were in love? He nodded. Who was she? She was like you, he said. Wild, brave, human, mostly. Did she break your heart? His lips curved faintly, but it wasn't a smile. No, I broke hers. Something tightened in my chest. I shouldn't have asked, but I couldn't stop. And do you still love her? He looked at me then, fully, his silver eyes burning in the dark. No, he said softly. That part of me died the day I met you. My breath hitched. There was no teasing in his voice, no flirtation, just truth, raw, unpolished, dangerous. You don't even know me, I whispered. I've known you for a long time. You keep saying that, because it's true, but I don't remember any of it. You will. He stood then and offered me his hand. I hesitated, then took it. His fingers were rough, warm, calloused, and when he helped me to my feet, we were suddenly far too close. I could feel his breath on my skin. I don't want to be afraid of you, I said. You don't have to be. I want to believe that. He reached up, gently brushing a damp strand of hair behind my ear. The touch sent a shock down my spine. You don't have to believe anything yet, he said. Just stay close. I'll keep you safe. And though I barely knew him, though this world terrified me and nothing made sense, some part of me believed that. I nodded, and when he stepped back, he smiled softly. The first real smile I'd seen from him. Get some rest, he murmured. I'll keep watch. I lay down on the old cot against the wall, watching him as he returned to the fire. He sat like a sentinel, half man, half beast, guarding something he wasn't ready to name yet, but I felt it in my bones. He'd lost something. I had too, and maybe, just maybe, we were both starting to find it again. In each other. I didn't expect the nightmares. Not after everything we'd been through. Not after the quiet way Killian had kept watch all night, his silhouette motionless by the fire like a loyal wolf guarding a sleeping packmate. But something dark followed me into sleep. I was running. The forest twisted and morphed around me, trees bleeding, howling, clawed shapes crawling beneath the moss. The moon above wasn't white, but blood red. And behind me, something chased me, something with Killian's eyes, but not his soul. When I woke, I was already screaming. Killian was beside me in an instant, one hand on my shoulder, the other brushing sweat-damp hair from my forehead. Rain, it's okay, you're safe. But I wasn't. I knew that, deep in my bones. I looked up at him, heart racing. I saw you. You were wrong. Something was wrong with your eyes. He went still. What color were they? Gold, not silver, like fire. He pulled back just a little, but I saw the flicker of something. Fear? Guilt? Killian, what does that mean? He stood, jaw tight, pacing now like a caged animal. It means something's changing, too fast. What is changing? He didn't answer right away. Then finally, your dreams, your bloodline, whatever's inside you, it's waking up. I sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around me. I don't understand. You will, but it's happening too soon. The moon shouldn't be pulling at you yet. The moon? Everything in our world is bound to the lunar cycle. Power, memory, fate. Shifters follow the old rhythm. But your line is different, stronger, older. I swallowed hard. What happens if it wakes up and I'm not ready? His voice dropped low. You break. A cold silence settled between us. I barely had time to process it before the wind outside shifted. Killian's entire body went tense. Someone's here. I followed his gaze to the door. Stay behind me, he growled. He didn't have to shift to be terrifying. Even as a man, he moved with lethal focus, a predator ready to protect what was his. The door burst open before he reached it. A figure flew through, human looking but wrong. Too fast, too graceful. Blonde hair matted with blood, a blade in one hand, a cruel smirk on her face. Miss me, Alpha? Killian didn't blink. Talia. She tilted her head. Aren't you going to welcome me home? Get out. I rose to my feet, confused and suddenly angry. Who the hell is this? Killian's voice was tight, controlled. Talia. She used to be my second in command. She glanced at me, lips curling. Oh, this is the human girl? The one you've been hiding? Hiding? I asked. Oh, sweet thing, she purred. You think he's your protector? He's the reason they're coming. The packs, the hunters, all of them. Enough, Killian growled. Talia stepped closer to me, ignoring him entirely. Her eyes glinted with something wild. He didn't tell you, did he? About the war he started? The blood on his hands? The Alpha Council hunting him down because he broke the one law that cannot be broken? I backed up. What law? She bared her teeth. He chose you, a human. And not just any human, one with dormant blood. Forbidden, sacred. Talia, Killian warned, but it was too late. Talia's eyes flashed gold. I felt it before I saw it, energy tearing through the room. Hot and primal. I stumbled back, my skin prickling like it had caught fire, and then I saw her begin to shift bones. Cracking, skin splitting, a grotesque transformation mid-sentence. Fur erupted down her arms, her mouth lengthening into a snarling maw. Killian, I screamed, but he was already moving. He shifted mid-leap. 1 second, he was human. The next massive, black-furred, snarling with silver eyes that glowed. In the firelight, the clash was brutal. Teeth met claws, wood splintered, blood flew. I could only watch frozen, horrified. Thrilled. It was animal savagery, yes, but beneath it was something personal. This wasn't just two shifters fighting. This was history exploding in teeth and rage. Finally, Killian pinned her. His paw slammed into her throat. Her muzzle twisted in a half growl, half laugh. Still think she's worth dying for? She rasped. He didn't answer, but I did. Get out, I said, surprised by the strength in my voice. Or next time, I won't wait for him to tear your throat out. Talia's yellow eyes cut to me. And in that moment, I saw it, fear. She twisted beneath Killian's grip, coughed once, then shifted back to human form, bloody and gasping. This isn't over, she whispered. The council knows. The bloodline's been activated. You can't protect her. Killian didn't move, but his growl deepened. Talia scrambled to her feet and vanished into the woods with one final look of hate. Silence returned, broken only by Killian's labored breathing. When he shifted back, he was crouched, bloody, exhausted. I rushed to him. Without thinking, you're hurt. I'll heal. You always say that. He looked up at me, expression raw. I didn't want you to see that, but I did. And I'm still here. He let out a breath like it broke something inside him. She's right, he said. About the council. About what I've done. Then tell me the truth. He looked away. Killian. Finally, he met my eyes. I was supposed to reject you. I stared at him. What? When I first found out what you were, what bloodline you carried, they ordered me to stay away. Said you were dangerous. Said you'd bring ruin to anyone who touched you. And you didn't listen. He shook his head. I couldn't. Something in me broke open then. Not in fear but in clarity. That's why you said you knew. Me. Because you've always been watching. He nodded. I moved closer. And why do they want me dead? Because the prophecy says your bloodline can break the old magic. End the curse. End the hierarchy. The whole system of alphas and dominance, it crumbles when you rise. I blinked. You mean I'm supposed to, what? Lead a revolution? I don't know, he said. But I know this. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were born to shatter what they fear most. I laughed, half hysterical. I was born in a small town to two accountants and a half-dead cat. Then they weren't telling you the truth either. Everything spun. I sank to the floor beside him, trembling. Why me? Because fate doesn't care about who you were, only who you're meant to be. And then, in the quiet, he reached for my hand. His fingers were warm, shaking. I didn't want to love you, he whispered, but I do. And I'd burn the whole world before I let them take you. And for the first time since the crash on that stormy road, I believed him. The fire had long burned down to coals, but I couldn't sleep. Not after what I'd seen. Not after what I now knew. Killian had killed for me, protected me with savage, feral fury. Talia's words still echoed in my mind like smoke clinging to a ruined house. She's marked. Her bloodline is sacred. She'll destroy everything the packs have built. And Killian, he'd known. For years, I sat on the edge of the cot, knees drawn to my chest, the blanket wrapped tightly around my shoulders. Killian had shifted back hours ago and sat across from me now, shirtless again, nursing the worst of his cuts. He hadn't said a word since, neither had I. The silence between us was full of questions, but this time I was ready for answers. "Tell me," I said quietly. "Everything." Killian didn't look at me right away. His eyes were fixed on the glowing embers, but I saw his shoulders tense, like he'd been waiting for this moment longer than I could ever understand. He exhaled, long and tired. "There's a reason you've always felt separate from the world," he began. "It's not just because of what happened with your fiancé, not just the loneliness you carry. It goes deeper than that. It's in your blood, your soul." I swallowed. "You said my bloodline was ancient," he nodded. "There are families, rare ones whose lineage traces back to the moon goddess herself. They were her first creations, not wolves, not humans, something in between, something divine. And I'm one of them? You're the last," he said. "The others were hunted down, executed, silenced by the Alpha Council generations ago. Because your kind could disrupt everything." "Why?" I asked. "Why fear people like me?" "Because your blood carries the ability to unbind magic, not just wield it but free it. The rules that control shifters, the dominance rituals, the forced mate bonds, the curse that keeps us tethered to the moon, all of it begins to fray when you awaken. You don't just change the game, Rain. You end it." I stared at him, and I saw the flicker of awe in his face, not fear, not doubt, wonder. "You think I'm supposed to destroy all of this?" I asked. "No," he said. "You're supposed to heal it, or burn it. The choice will be yours, but the packs won't give you that choice. They'll try to kill you before you decide." "But I don't feel magical," I whispered. "I feel like a girl who got cheated on and lost everything." Killian came closer, kneeling in front of me. "You're more than that, and I can prove it." I blinked. "How?" He reached into the pocket of the jacket he'd stolen from Talia and pulled out something small, round, ancient-looking. A silver pendant, crusted with black ash and dangling from a broken chain. I gasped when he placed it in my hand. The second my fingers touched the cold metal, something inside me ignited. It was like a pulse of heat had shot through my spine. My chest ached, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. Images rushed my mind, flashes of a full moon through trees, a circle of silver-eyed people chanting in a language I didn't know, fire flickering over fur and flesh and bone. What is this?" I choked. "A memory token," Killian said, watching me closely. "Your birthright. It belonged to your mother." "My mother?" I gasped. She died when I was a baby." Killian's expression was unreadable. "She didn't die in a car crash like they told you. She was hunted. The Alpha Council wiped your memory and placed you with human guardians. They tried to bury what you were, but blood doesn't forget, and neither does the moon." I was trembling. My head was spinning, but the truth was louder than the fear now. "I saw them," I whispered. "In my dreams. A woman with hair like mine. She was holding me by a fire, whispering something in a language I didn't understand. Old moon tongue." Killian murmured. "Your birthright language. Lost to most of us. But not to me," I whispered. He nodded. "It's waking up inside you. The memories, the instincts, the magic. That's why your dreams are shifting. Why your blood's burning. You're not broken, Rain. You're just starting to remember." My throat tightened. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about truth, and suddenly, I was angry. Not at Killian. At the world that had lied to me. At the people who had tried to erase me. "All this time," I said, my voice hoarse, "I thought I was broken, weak, a mistake." "You're the most powerful creature I've ever met," Killian said softly. "And you haven't even scratched the surface." My heart pounded. I looked down at the pendant in my hand. It glowed faintly now, like moonlight trapped in stone. "What do I do with this?" "You hold it when the moon is full," he said. "It'll unlock more of what's inside you. The rest will come in waves." "And then what?" He hesitated. "You'll need to choose," he said at last, "whether to fight or disappear forever." I met his eyes. "And you?" "I'll follow you," he said, "wherever you go." My breath caught. "Even if I burn the world down?" He stepped closer, brushed his fingers along my cheek. "I'd burn with you." And in that moment, I saw him fully, not just the wolf or the warrior, but the man. The one who had been watching from the shadows all this time, not because he was ordered to, but because something inside him had known I was his before I ever looked back. "You're not what I expected," I whispered. "You're exactly what I hoped for," he said. The moment hung between us, thick with magic and memory and something ancient that neither of us had the words for. And then I leaned forward. Our lips met, not desperate or wild, but real, quiet. A promise, not a possession. He cupped my face like I was something precious. And when we broke apart, we didn't speak. We didn't need to, because something deeper had been said. The moon had begun to remember me, and for the first time in my life I was ready to remember it back. The morning light filtered through the cracked windows of the safe house, casting golden stripes across the wood-paneled floor. I sat curled in one of the threadbare chairs, staring at the pendant in my palm. It no longer glowed, but I could still feel its weight like a heartbeat. Killian hadn't said much since the kiss. He was standing at the sink now, shirtless, splashing water on his face as if trying to scrub something off that went deeper than skin. I knew that. Silence. It wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that came before someone left. You've been up for hours, I said softly. He didn't turn around. So have you? Say something. His jaw flexed. You need to leave this place, Rain. I blinked. Excuse me? He turned to face me, eyes shadowed, the silver in them dimmed with guilt. We've lingered too long. The Alpha Council will be tracking us. They know who you are now. It's only a matter of time before they send a retrieval squad. Then let's leave. Together. His silence sliced me in half. You're not saying that because you want to run, I said slowly. You're saying it because you want me to go. Without you. Killian's eyes closed. If I stay with you, I become your weakness. I stood. No. You're my strength. You think I can do this alone? You're the only one who's told me the truth. He turned away, bracing his hands on the counter. I've told you some truths. Not all. My chest tightened. What haven't you told me? A long, terrible pause. Then he said it, voice like gravel. I was the one who tracked your mother. The world tilted. What? I didn't know who she was at the time. I was young, a tracker for the council. They told me she was a rogue with dangerous magic. I didn't question it. I followed orders. I helped them locate her. I felt like I'd been slapped. You led them to her. His voice cracked. I didn't know about you. I didn't know. She had a child. I didn't know she was one of the last moonbound. By the time I realized what they'd done, by the time I saw what I'd been a part of, she was dead. And you were gone. I dropped the pendant. It hit the floor with a soft clink. So you've been watching me all these years out of what guilt? He flinched. At first, yes. And then what? I hissed. You just fell in love with the girl whose mother you helped murder. I've spent every day since trying to protect you, he said fiercely. Even when it meant hiding the truth. Even when it meant lying to your face. Then why tell me now? I whispered. Because I saw the look in your eyes last night. You trusted me. You let me in. And I couldn't. I couldn't carry that lie anymore. Not if I wanted to be worthy of you. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to believe you were different, I said. That maybe fate wasn't cruel for once. But you were part of the reason my whole life was ripped apart. You chose them. I was just a soldier, Rain. Then be more now. I shouted, stepping toward him. Don't leave me in the ruins again. His voice dropped to a broken whisper. If I stay, they'll find you. Faster. If I stay, they'll use me against you. You think I care? I whispered, trembling. You think I care if I burn for this? You think I haven't already lost enough? His eyes met mine, and I knew what was coming. I can't stay, he said. No, I grabbed his arm, nails digging into his skin, as if physical contact could undo the betrayal. As if love alone could stop a man from walking away from the only thing that made him human. I won't let you go, I said. You don't get to choose this time, he said softly. You've chosen too much already. You chose mercy in the woods. You chose trust in the cabin. You chose love even when you didn't understand why. He leaned forward, kissed my forehead tender and final. I choose for you now. I gasped, but he was already gone, slipping out the door before I could scream, before I could beg, before I could hate him. I fell to my knees. The fire had died in the hearth. The air turned cold. The pendant still sat on the floor, and the silence was louder than any goodbye. Scene breaky. Don't remember how long I stayed on that floor. Hours passed. Maybe days. Eventually, I picked up the pendant. I stared into its surface, wishing it would show me something, my mother, a vision, anything that could help me understand how I'd ended up here. But all I saw was my reflection, and I didn't recognize the girl anymore. That night, I stepped outside into the clearing behind the cabin. The trees whispered like old women, gossiping under the stars. The wind carried the scent of pine, frost, and something else, danger. And then I felt it, the burn under my skin, the pulse of something ancient. I looked up, the moon was full, and it called to me like a memory I had never earned. I held the pendant to my chest and whispered the words I'd been dreaming since childhood. I didn't know what they meant, but my bones did. And you nevera. Ilisser Thealun. A wave of silver light pulls from the pendant, engulfing me in its glow. I staggered, my skin burned, and then I screamed. But it wasn't a scream of pain. It was a scream of becoming. Pain was supposed to be temporary, but this was like becoming something else while still being fully awake inside your skin. The transformation didn't come like it had for Killian, fluid, seamless, shaped by years of control. Mine was messy, explosive, terrifying. I fell to my knees, in the clearing, clutching the pendant to my chest as silver fire roared beneath my skin. Every nerve lit up, every bone cracked like thunder, every breath tasted like ash and starlight. My screams shattered the silence. And then silence. My senses opened. I heard everything. The flutter of wings in the trees, the heartbeat of a rabbit in the brush, the howl echoing in the far distance. I saw clearer than I ever had. The trees weren't just trees, they were alive, ancient, sacred. And when I looked down, I saw my hands, not hands, claws, pale fur streaked with light. My reflection glinted in a pool of moonlight, a white wolf with glowing eyes and silver markings spiraling down my legs. I staggered back, but something inside me whispered, "You've always been this. You're just remembering now." I didn't know how long I stayed there, half wolf, half girl, trembling and alone, but I knew I wasn't safe. I knew something was coming, and I was right. The first scent hit me like a slap: gunpowder, leather, bloodlust, hunters, shifters, not of Killian's pack, a rogue faction, Alpha Council enforcers, 3 of them, moving like shadows, encircling the clearing. "She's turned," one of them hissed. "Look at the markings. She's moonbound." Another raised a tranquilizer rifle. Orders were to take her alive for now. I growled, low in warning, but my legs shook beneath me. I hadn't learned how to fight like this. I hadn't trained for this body. I was instinct and fear and magic barely held together by the remnants of who I used to be. They moved in. I lunged, bit, clawed, snapped. One went down, but another clipped my shoulder with a bolt, and pain seared through me. I whimpered, staggered. They were closing in, and then a roar split the night. Killian. He came crashing through the trees like a nightmare in flesh, already mid-shift. His wolf form was massive, dark as storm clouds, and twice as fast. He tackled the largest enforcer and tore into him with bone-snapping precision. "Run," he shouted through the bond. "Rain, run." But I didn't run. I turned back, because this wasn't just about surviving anymore. This was about fighting back, even through the pain. Even as my shoulder bled and my limbs trembled, I threw myself into the fray beside him. Not as a girl needing protection, but as something ancient, reborn, divine. Together, we tore the enforcers apart. When the last one fell, I collapsed beside Killian, panting, soaked in blood and sweat and something too big to name. We shifted back, almost in sync, our naked bodies trembling under the night sky, our skin steaming with leftover power. "You came back," I gasped, voice ragged. Killian cupped my face, his forehead pressed to mine. "I never left you," he breathed. "Even when I ran, I was tracking them. I felt the shift in the bond, I felt you awaken. And I knew they'd come." Tears burned my eyes. "You left me broken. I came back to help you put yourself back together," he said. "And you did it. You did it. Rain, you changed." "I didn't think I could survive it," I whispered. "You did more than survive." His voice broke. "You rose." I wrapped my arms around him, clinging like he was the only thing tethering me to the earth. And maybe he was. "I was so angry at you," I admitted. "I hated that you left. I hated that you lied." "I know," he murmured. "And I'll carry that. But I'll also carry this. Us. If you let me." I pulled back just enough to look at him. His eyes were glassy, full of emotion too raw to be anything but real. "I didn't think I could trust anyone again," I said. "But when you showed up tonight, I knew you weren't just a part of my past. You're part of my future." A small, broken smile curved his lips. "And you're mine," he said. "Fated or not, chosen or not, I'd find you in every life." The words trembled between us, delicate and eternal. And then we kissed. It wasn't soft. It was desperate, wild, like two souls had finally stopped fighting fate long enough to fall together instead of apart. His hands ran through my hair, over my back, grounding me to this moment. I let the storm inside me calm. Let his presence remind me that I was alive, that I'd made it through the fire and come out burning brighter. When we finally broke apart, breathless and tangled, I whispered, "What now?" Killian's eyes sharpened. "Now we go to the mountain. There's a safe haven for those who've escaped the Alpha Council. The last of the true Bloodline's elders who can help guide you. And if they don't accept me, they will. Or I'll make them." I gave him a look, half a laugh, half a sob. "Still the Alpha, huh?" He brushed his thumb against my cheek. "Not their Alpha, just yours." The moon hung above us like a silent witness. It no longer felt distant or cold. It felt like home. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel alone. The cabin in the mountain glade was nothing like the one we'd stayed in before. This one was warmer, older, filled with stories that lived in the timbered walls. The fire cracked low in the hearth, casting long shadows that danced over stone and fur and bare skin. I stood at the window, wrapped in a soft blanket, staring at the distant forest below. Snow had begun to fall again, slow and lazy, like the world was exhaling after holding its breath too long. Behind me, Killian moved, quiet, controlled, but I felt him like gravity. "I don't want to hide anymore," I whispered. "You won't have to," he said. He came to stand beside me, his hand brushing mine. Our fingers tangled slowly, like they knew the way even when we didn't. "I've been waiting for something my whole life," I said, still watching the snow. Waiting for a sign, a voice, anything to explain why everything was taken from me. "And now?" he asked. "I think it was waiting for you." He turned me gently to face him. "I wasn't always the right one, Rain. I wasn't always worthy of your trust. I made mistakes. I hurt people. So have I said. But pain didn't break us. It made us." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was sacred. He brushed my hair back from my face, fingers trembling like he couldn't quite believe I was real. "I don't want to be your protector anymore," he said softly. "I want to be your partner, your equal. You already are." He searched my face, and whatever he saw there broke him wide open. "I love you, Rain. Not because we're bound, not because of some prophecy or past mistake. I love you because when I look at you, I see the woman I never thought I deserved." My throat tightened. "And I love you," I said, stepping closer. "Not because you saved me, but because you let me save myself. You saw me when I was nothing but fear and fire, and you didn't turn away." He kissed me then, not the frantic kiss of battle, not the desperate kiss of reunion. This one was slower, deeper. It tasted like healing and hope and the kind of love that grows stronger after being burned. The blanket slipped from my shoulders, pooling at my feet. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer, anchoring me to a moment I never wanted to end. We sank to the furs by the fire, breath mingling, skin against skin, the world outside fading. He kissed every scar like it was sacred. I touched every part of him, like it was home. And when our bodies finally moved together, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't frantic. It was a claiming not of flesh, but of soul. A binding older than the moon itself. There was no need for words, only breath, only rhythm, only us. When it was over, we lay tangled together beneath a fir throw, his heartbeat slow and steady beneath my cheek. "You feel different," he murmured. "Different how?" "Like power hums beneath your skin now. Like the moon lives in you, not just around you." I smiled. "Maybe it does." He ran his fingers down my spine. "Do you feel it? The bond?" I nodded, voice quiet. "It's not a chain. It's a thread." He smiled, his eyes glowing faintly. "Unbreakable." I turned to face him. "What happens now?" He went still. "There's one last thing," he said, voice tight. "The mountain elders. They'll want proof you're the true moonbound before they shelter us both. And the Alpha Council. They won't let this go. Not with what you are." "What am I?" I asked. He touched my chest, over my heart. "Hope. To some, a weapon. To others, a miracle. You're a wolf born of two bloodlines, your mother's moon magic and your father's warrior blood. They'll fear you, and they'll want you. Let them try," I said. "I'm not running anymore." His gaze darkened with admiration and something deeper, pride. "They'll come for us," he said. I leaned into him. "Then we make our stand together." The fire crackled. The The wind howled beyond the walls, and for the first time since the night in the woods, I felt like the storm was behind us, for a moment, but I knew in my bones, this peace wouldn't last forever. A final reckoning waited on the horizon. Still, in Killian's arms, I didn't feel fear. I felt ready. The mountain didn't shake. It howled. The moment the first council scout stepped past the wards, the land screamed in protest. Birds exploded from the trees. The wind slammed against the cabin like fists, and the protective sigils carved into the stones began to flicker, losing their light. Killian was already at the door, shirtless, his back rippling with tension as he scanned the horizon. "They're here," he said grimly. "How many?" I asked, grabbing the carved blade left to me by the elder's moonsteel, bound in runes. He didn't look back. "Too many." Outside, snow whirled like a living thing, and within its spirals, I saw them, shifters in black, branded with the Alpha Council's insignia. At least a dozen in wolf form, more in human shape. Some bore collars mages. One wore the golden sash of a high enforcer. The man in front stepped forward. He was tall, lean, with silver hair tied at his neck and cruel intelligence in his eyes. "Killian. Vale," he called, voice magically amplified. "You are harboring a rogue. Hand her over, and your death will be quick." Killian opened the door and stepped out into the storm. "She's not a rogue," he said. "She's the true heir to the moonline, and you'll have to go through me." The enforcer sneered. "That can be arranged." "Good," I said, stepping up beside Killian, blade in hand. I was hoping for a fight. He looked at me, horror and awe mixing in his expression. "You shouldn't be out here." "I belong out here," I said. "This is my fight too." Before he could argue, the wind pulsed louder now, brighter. The wards shattered with a sharp crack, and the first wave of wolves lunged forward. Killian roared as he shifted midair, meeting them head on. I didn't shift. I didn't need to. My power surged through my limbs, the moonlight coiling around my skin like armor. The runes on my blade glowed hot, and the pendant at my throat, my mother's, flared with radiant energy. They came for me, and I let them. The first two wolves were fast, but I was faster. I ducked beneath the first one's swipe, spun, and drove the moonsteel into his side. He yelped, collapsed. The other lunged, but I raised my palm, and the air between us snapped, a wall of force knocking him back. Killian fought like a hurricane. His wolf was a blur of black fur and fangs, his roars shaking the earth. But there were too many. I had to end it. Now, the mage with the collar stepped forward and raised her hands. "You are not chosen," she said, her voice like broken glass. "You are wrongborn, a fusion of two worlds, an abomination." I looked her in the eye. "I'm not an abomination," I said. "I'm the balance." I drove the blade into the ground. The moon answered. A surge of energy exploded outward from me, knocking everyone, council and ally alike, to their knees. The snow evaporated in a flash of steam, and in its place, wild light rose, ancient magic, forgotten, forbidden. But mine.it wrapped around me, lifted me from the earth, and every scar on my body glowed silver. "I call upon the first blood," I said, voice echoing in the ether. "By my mother's moon, by my father's vow." I claimed my name. The air stilled. Then a low hum filled the forest. Behind me, the shadows shifted and the elders appeared. Cloaked in ash and fur and bone, they stood on the ridge above, silent, witnesses to the storm I had become. One of them stepped forward. "She speaks the truth," the old woman said. "She is moonborn. The prophecy lives through her." The enforcer paled. "This isn't possible." "You made it possible," I said, stepping down, power pulsing through me like a second heartbeat. "By hunting me, by trying to control me, you gave me no choice but to rise." Killian stood beside me once more, blood on his chest, golden eyes burning. "She's not your enemy," he said. "She's your future." The enforcer raised his hand to signal another wave, but it never came, because suddenly, the other shifters hesitated, some looking at me, others to the elders. The power in the air was undeniable. The bond between Killian and me sparked visibly. Now silver light connecting our hands, our hearts.it was fate, and fate could not be commanded. One by one, the council's wolves stepped back, and then, like a tide turning, they knelt. Not to me.to us.to what we had become. The enforcer bared his teeth. "This isn't over." I stepped toward him, unafraid. "No, it's just beginning. Tell the Alpha Council their time of control is over. The old ways are returning." He vanished in a flash of magic, and the storm began to calm. The elders said nothing, only bowed once, then faded into the trees like mist. Killian turned to me slowly. "You didn't just survive," he said. "You changed the world." I stepped into his arms, exhaustion hitting me like a wave. "Not alone." He kissed the top of my head. "Never again." The night was still, save for the crackle of the fire when we returned to the cabin. I curled against him, my body sore, my heart finally full. I had lost everything once, but the moon had given me something better, a second chance. The sun rose slow and golden over the mountain, spilling light across the frost-covered trees like honey. The storm had passed, not just the weather but the war, the prophecy, the fear that had once ruled both our lives. I stood barefoot on the porch of the elders' long house, a mug of steaming tea in my hands, staring out over the valley. Smoke curled from the chimneys of cabins below. Wolves and humans moved through the snow-dusted paths, not as enemies or strangers, but side by side, peace at last. And I still couldn't quite believe it. Killian stepped up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder. "You always look like that when you're thinking too loud." "Like what?" "Like the storm is still inside you." I leaned into his warmth. "Maybe it is, but it's quieter now." He kissed my temple, and for a moment, we just breathed his heart a steady rhythm against my back. We'd spent the past 2 days in the elders' village, recovering, rebuilding, remembering. The Alpha Council hadn't returned, though word traveled fast. Rain Wild, the moonborn heir, had survived the purge, and she was bonded to the exile Alpha of the Blackridge pack. Some packs cheered, others watched in silence, waiting to see what we'd do next. "We don't have to stay," Killian said, his voice low. "If you want peace, real peace, we can disappear. There are places no council wolf can follow." "And hide forever?" I asked gently. "No, that's not who I am anymore." He turned me to face him. "Then who are you?" I looked up at him, the man who'd once been my enemy, then my protector, then something more. The one who had destroyed my life only to become the reason I fought for it again. "I'm Rain Wild," I said. "Daughter of witches and wolves. The Moonborn, your mate." I placed his hand over my heart. "And I want to build something better. For the orphans, for the half-bloods, for the broken ones like us." His jaw tensed. "They won't make it easy. They never do." A soft knock pulled us from the moment. An elder stood at the door, gray braids woven with bones, a carved staff in her hand. "It's time," she said simply. Killian squeezed my hand. "You don't have to prove anything to them. You already changed everything." "I'm not proving," I said. "I'm claiming." The council circle was carved into the cliffside, a ring of ancient stones older than the packs themselves. Today, they shimmered faintly with silver magic. Reawakened after generations, the elders stood at the edge, silent. Killian stood behind me, silent support in every heartbeat. I stepped into the center. "My name is Rain Wild," I said, my voice steady despite the wind. "I was born in shadow. I grew up hunted, and I nearly died trying to run from a fate I didn't understand." I turned slowly, letting every wolf there see my face. "But I'm done running." Magic coiled at my fingertips. The pendant at my neck pulsed once, then dissolved into starlight, joining the silver markings that now traced my collarbones and wrists. "I am the Moonborn," I said. "Not chosen by blood, but by survival, by fire, and by love." I looked back at Killian, and I claimed my place not to rule, but to heal. The stones pulsed once in recognition, and then the elders bowed, not just to me, but to us. Later, in the quiet between ceremony and nightfall, I found Killian where I always did, alone in the trees, watching the stars. He turned when he heard me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't before. "Peace. Do you regret it?" he asked softly. "What?" "Choosing me. This life. The fight." I stepped close and took his hand. "Never." He pulled me into his arms, holding me like the answer to a question he'd never dared ask aloud. "We could leave," he said again. "We could find a place where no one knows our names. Just you, me, and the wolves." "We could," I said. "But we were given this bond for a reason." "To suffer?" he asked bitterly. "To lead," I whispered. "Together." He kissed me then, deep, soft, certain, and I knew that no matter what tomorrow held, councils, enemies, danger, I would face it, because I wasn't alone anymore, because I was his, and he was mine. It's spring when the cabin walls bloom again. The snow is long gone, the woods alive with green so bright it almost hurts the eyes. Wildflowers creep up through cracks in the stones, stubborn and sweet. Birds sing like it's their only purpose. And I wake each morning to the scent of pine, warm tea, and the sound of wolves howling in the distance, not in pain, not in war. In joy. Killian's arm curls tighter around my waist, and I smile into his chest. He's warm even in sleep, a furnace of muscle and quiet strength. His breath brushes my hair. Peace is a strange thing to get used to. I never thought I'd have it. Not really. Not in a world that hunted me for what I am. Not with a man who once represented everything I hated. But here we are, alive, together. And maybe that's enough. We didn't stay with the elders. In the valley of wolves and whispers, we thanked them, bowed to the stones, and left. Killian rebuilt his old cabin from the ashes, this time with a real roof, windows that didn't leak, and a second room in the back he pretended wasn't a nursery. Not yet. I'm not saying I want pups, I teased when I saw the carved cradle tucked into the corner. He didn't look up from where he was stacking firewood. But if we did, there's space. I threw a pine cone at his back, he threw one back harder. We still bicker, we still burn, but we never walk away. We planted a garden. He hunts. I gather herbs and teach the rogue girls who find us how to make teas that help with grief and salves that take away the worst of the scars. Some of the wolves who come to us can't shift anymore. Their trauma locked them inside human skin or wolf skin. I know what that feels like. I don't push them to shift. I just remind them they're still whole. Some bring news. Whispers of change in the Alpha Council. Some old packs have splintered. Others have united under new banners. No one says our names aloud, but we hear the ripples. They call us ghosts, legends, symbols, but we're just us. Sometimes I wake at night with my heart pounding and the scent of ash thick in my mouth. Killian pulls me close, presses his lips to the nape of my neck and whispers, "It's over." And I believe him. We have a rule. No blood in the cabin. If someone comes to us fresh from a kill, they wash before stepping inside. Not because we're ashamed of what we are, but because this place is sacred. A sanctuary. We have more visitors now, rogues, half-bloods, even a few old wolves from Killian's former pack. Some come seeking guidance. Others come just to be near something they can't name. One girl, no older than 15, came with a burn scar down one arm and yellow eyes full of defiance. She asked if I was the moonborn. I told her I was just rain. She stayed 3 weeks, then left under the full moon, running faster than anyone I'd ever seen. Killian said she'd be an alpha one day. She already is, I said. She just doesn't know it yet. Tonight, the stars are out in full. I sit by the fire pit, watching the flames dance, a thick blanket around my shoulders. Killian returns from the trees, barefoot and grinning, a rabbit in one hand and dirt on his cheek. He sits beside me, pulling me close. "Still don't miss the city?" he asks. I laugh. "Only when I want pizza. We have mushrooms and burnt bread, same thing." I nudge him with my elbow. He catches my hand. Our bond thrums between us, quieter now, settled, but still there, always there, a thread of moonlight running through every heartbeat. "Do you think the council will come back?" I ask softly. He watches the fire. "Maybe, maybe not, but if they do, we'll be ready." I nod. I believe him, because we're not the same as we once were. I'm not the shattered girl in the snow, and he's not the wolf who thought love was weakness. We're more. Not perfect. Not peaceful every second, but real. "Do you ever regret it?" I ask, echoing a question he once asked me. He turns his head. "Regret what?" "Us." Killian stares at me like I've gone mad. "You're my mate, my moon, my home. What do you think?" I smile, because I know the answer. Later, when the wolves howl again in the distance, I don't flinch. They're not coming to tear me down. They're singing, calling to the moon, to the wild. To us. And for the first time in my life, I lift my head and I howl back, not as a witch, not as a fugitive, but as rain, wild, alpha, air, mate, home.